God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need.
So we've been studying money this month because that's what we're talking about. And so we've been looking at this book, The Soul of Money. And we're reminded that we invented this stuff. You know, it's not anything that is out of our control. That we created it and we're giving the power to it and we're giving the meaning to it. That's what we do. And that it, you know, being a human invention, we give it the power. And it's sort of interesting how we continue to invent technologies that we want to use that end up having power over us. You know, we end up, you know, everybody's tweeting, everybody's Facebooking, everybody's, you know, on their cell phones all the time because we have to be in constant contact. And it's sort of like, remember when we actually didn't have cell phones at all? And somehow we survived. But, you know, and now with that technology, it's just become part of our experience. So it's about realizing that we have control. We have choice in every moment. And when we look at the people in the world, the bottom line is that everyone in the world really wants to thrive, to have well-being. Everyone wants well-being for the people that they love. They want well-being for themselves, and they want well-being for the planet. That's what we really want, is well-being for everyone. And so that goes beyond any idea about money. And so we have to think about the other thing that we invented was this law of scarcity, this idea that resources are scarce. Because we keep thinking there's only one thing. You know, oh, coal, that's it, that's the power source of the future. You know, maybe not. We have to extend our awareness. And so scarcity is a lie. And it's made up of 3 toxic myths. The first toxic myth is there is not enough. And it's true if you just focus on one thing that is an exhaustible resource, there is not enough. But how about sunshine? How much sunshine is there? So there are ways of shifting our focus and expanding our awareness that invite us to realize that there is enough. The other toxic myth is more is better. You know, if you can have 1 TV, why not have 7 TVs? You shouldn't miss anything while you're in the bathroom. Those commercials, they really got you. And the third toxic myth is that's just the way it is. You know, the way it is now is just the way it is, and it's, you know, we can't change it. And, you know, Rabbi Michael Lerner says that is idolatry. Idolatry is believing the way that things are now is the way they will always be. We live in an expanding universe. The universe is continuing to expand. We always are in a process of change, and so it is not going to stay the way it is. Whether you like it or whether you hate it, it's going to change. That's just a given. But there's a flow to this change, and we'll talk more about this. So, sufficiency. Sufficiency is not a quantity. It's not an amount. It's an experience. It's a context that we generate, knowing that there is enough and we are enough. We do not see the world as it is, we see it as we are. And when we know that we are enough, there is enough. So we get to choose the way that we think about our money. We get to choose to say that it expresses value rather than determines value. So in other words, we say, oh, this purse costs $1,200. It must be a good purse. Well, it's just a good purse because somebody's charging $1,200 for it? I don't think so. And we can talk about putting our money in places where it feeds those things we're interested in, that we appreciate, like local businesses. So we spend our money locally because we want our local community to thrive. So it's about where we choose to put our money in. Lynn Twist, who wrote this book, says money is like water. It can be a conduit for commitment, a currency of love. Money moving in the direction of our highest commitments nourishes our world and ourselves. What you appreciate, appreciates. When you make a difference with what you have, it expands. Collaboration creates prosperity. True abundance flows from enough, never from more. Money carries our intention. If we use it with integrity, then it carries integrity forward. Know the flow. Take responsibility for the way your money moves in the world. Let your soul inform your money and your money express your soul. And access your assets, not only money, but also your own character and capabilities, your relationships and other non-money resources. So this is about recognizing that we have access to that infinite mind, and we have a consciousness that goes around the mediums of exchange that we use, whether it's money or service or goods or whatever it is. And so I just wanted to bring up a member of our community, and I happened to be having a conversation with her this week, and she explained the way that she deals with money. And I thought it would be helpful for her to share that, just to show you an example of a way that one can approach money. So please welcome Gabrielle Boulon.
Thank you, Rev. Lani. This past year, Divine Consciousness took me on a journey that I did not expect to go on. I don't know how it's been for the rest of you, but since this huge recession, the pain of loss of millions of people losing their jobs, losing their homes, struggling to feed their families through the Interfaith Food Ministry, has really tugged at my heart. And I felt moments of irritation and frustration with large institutions as well as individuals whose actions and attitudes about money have been quite destructive. Now we know that when we are in a state of upset, a negative emotion, that's a sign to go within. And so what has happened in this past year is I've had to go within because I didn't know what else to do with my pain. When you're at IFM regularly, the pain is right in your face, and I didn't know what to do with it. And so through the course of the year, several things came to my attention. A couple of people happened to mention over a couple of weeks that they had gotten a small loan at the local credit union when they couldn't get one from a big bank. They needed to start a little business or fix their roof or send a child to school. And the big banks have engaged in such foolish behavior, they've had such massive loss, they're now contracted in fear. And if you don't have the very highest credit rating, you just aren't going to get a loan. Well, all of a sudden I realized, oh, I want to align myself with the law of circulation. So I took my money out of a big bank, which will remain nameless. I went over to the credit union, which is federally insured and is profitable, and that's where I do all of my financial services now. Because I know that I want to align myself with the law of circulation, not just attraction, but circulation, so that I'm collaborating with my community and helping to build the abundance of everyone around here in this village, not just myself. So that was my first step. And then a couple of weeks later, I was thinking about credit cards. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been using an airline credit card for a long time because I want those little airline miles. Well, they don't give that many anymore. And I began to notice when I'm just swiping a card, I'm not doing any kind of exchange. It's just swiping a card. There's no exchange going on. Even if I write out a check, there's still no real exchange. Because if I give some people money, they're usually going to give me some money back. And I realized I don't want to give more energy to a credit industry that also has some dysfunctional attitudes and behaviors that have snared some of us into bankruptcy. I don't want to give my energy to that because debt is like a burden. It feels like a burden. It's contracting. And I want my consciousness to feel free and expansive. So I switched to a cash economy. The only time I use a credit card now is if it's the only way I can do a transaction on the internet, and that's pretty rare. So I switched to a cash economy, and the first day of every month, I go to the credit union, and the ladies there know I want their very best money. The nice, crispest, newest bills they've got. So I take those home, and I do what we call spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. And I know the absolute truth, as I'm blessing the money, that everyone whose life is touched by this, if they touch the money, their highest good is coming forth right now. No matter where this money goes, anywhere in the world. I absolutely know this. And then I fold them all neatly in half, all face forward, get out all the little dog ears, put them in sequential order, 5s, 10s, 20s, and I put them in my little spending envelopes. So there's one for the automobile and clothing and food and those sorts of things. Now, it used to be I'd do rather sporadic shopping, and some of it wasn't quite intentional. Some of it was a little impulsive. So now at the beginning of the month, I make a very careful list of what do I most need this month. I do one big shopping, get it all done at once, and put the receipts for each thing in that envelope. Whatever's left, I put in a box on my desk in my office, and it has the goddess of mercy, a little statue on top of it. So if I'm having a long day in the office or a cranky moment with my computer, I'm sure you never do, it helps me to remember why I'm here. I'm here to receive and give. Receive and give. Receive and give. During the month, if I need a little something extra, I may go once a week to go buy produce, and that's about it. Anytime I walk out the door before I go shopping, I do another prayer, and I know that the highest good is happening for anyone involved in anything I buy. Whether they were mining the ore, or manufacturing it, or transporting it, or selling it to me. Before I walk out the door, because if you know what's good for you, you're going to pray for a parking space in our village. So I know enough to pray before I leave. If you've ever seen me try to parallel park, you know why. So that's what I do. That's part of my spiritual practice now. And the reason this feels so good to me is it feels authentic. As Lynn was saying about our soul expressing through money and money reflecting our soul, it feels like I'm more authentic in what I'm doing now because I'm in that power of intention, which is such a powerful characteristic of consciousness. The whole universe resonates to intention, especially if it comes from compassion. So nothing much else happened after that. I'm thinking, well, I've changed my life quite a bit. There couldn't be anything more. Except that I always burn incense in the morning before I pray. I grew up in Catholicism with happy memories, and if there's one thing Catholics know how to do, it's to build a building and create a ceremony where you can really feel a sense of awe and of the sacred. And so I've always liked to burn frankincense because that's what it reminds me of. It gets me into that feeling tone. So I started putting incense in my little money packets. Might seem a little eccentric, but every time I get that little whiff, it reminds me of what I'm doing, that I'm intentional. And one day I finally got it. I really got it. This is not my money. This is a form of sacred exchange, and I only have stewardship of it in divine consciousness. I want to say that again because it just floored me. This is not my money. It's a form of sacred exchange over which I have stewardship in divine consciousness. And that's when I finally realized I am in this journey of awakening. And so are many of us. Now, the reason I mentioned receipts is that at the end of the month, I lay them out all on my desk. I look at everything I bought, and then I ask myself one question. Did everything I buy serve the highest good of myself, every other being, and this beautiful earth? If the answer is, maybe not all, I write myself a little note and I put it in that box on my desk so that next month I can be even more skillful and more conscious in what I'm doing with my money. What kind of sacred exchange am I engaging in? Now, the Mahatma Gandhi said, we must be the change that we wish to see. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is that my intention is some of these ideas and practices might move you to look at how you are exchanging money for goods, and how you look at what you're doing with the energy and the intention and the law of circulation in your own life. If we all do this together, we can all heal and raise the consciousness of everyone in our country, from the smallest child to the wealthiest CEO, so they really see what the highest good is in this form of sacred exchange. What would the world look like if everyone knew this was sacred exchange and treated it that way? Thank you.
So, Gabrielle had a pain, something that was uncomfortable, and took it within for that divine guidance. And she came up with this particular solution. Now, that was hers to do. And we all have an opportunity to go within and to see what is ours to do. It may be similar, it may be different. But we all have that opportunity to go within and see how we are showing up in the world and what is ours to do as individualized inlets and outlets for the divine mind, for the divine activity of spirit, for that law of circulation to flow. And so in order to do that, we have to have spiritual practices. And of course, the first spiritual practice we always mention is meditation, because it is when we are open to that divine mind that we make the space for that information to come to us. There's a wonderful poem by the Sufi poet Hafiz, and he says, "For God to make love, for the divine alchemy to work, the pitcher needs a still cup." The pitcher needs a still cup. Why ask Hafiz to say anything more about your most vital requirement? So having a still cup, stilling the monkey mind, the chaos of our thoughts, can happen in so many ways. Meditation doesn't have one particular way that you need to do it. It could be gardening, it could be walking, it could be biking, it could be so many different things. It could be sitting, could be lying down, could be chanting. Whatever way works for you to establish that still space that allows that still small voice to make itself known so that you are in alignment with the flow. So there is a flow, there is an energy, there is an impulsion from the divine that is wanting to be expressed in and through everyone and everything. And so as we open to it, we allow it to be our experience. Now, one of the things that we talked about last week that gets in the way of our receiving this information about the divine flow and acknowledging that and acting on it in the world, and that is fear. Fear comes up. We experience fear. And so when we feel that fear coming up, we have to recognize it, not try to pretend it's not there. We have to say, "Oh, hello, fear. There you are." And feel where it is in our body. Where is that fear? Is it in our stomach? Is it in our throat? Is it in our shoulders or our jaw? Where are we feeling that tightness, that constriction? And breathing into that space with love. Breathing into that space with love in order to loosen it, in order to let it go so that we can experience that divine flow, that influx of the information that we need to move forward in the flow. I was talking this morning about when I was in Guatemala in 1976, there was a 7.5 earthquake where I was, and 20,000 people were killed, and it was a really nightmarish experience. And then I came back to work in San Francisco. And I was in an 8-story building on the 5th floor in San Francisco, and an earthquake hit. And I can tell you, I did not think, I did not stop. I immediately ran for the stairway and headed down the stairs. I was about 3 floors down when my boss was coming up the stairs. She saw me running down the stairs. She saw the look on my face, and she said, "Lani, sit!" So I did. Sat right there on the stairs. And she said, "You never run out into the street in San Francisco in the middle of an earthquake because flying glass, not going outside." But I was not in my conscious mind. I was in my limbic reptile brain. I was on survival mode. I was running out the door. But having that experience, having that moment where she said, "Stop, sit," I can call that up and remember it now. So that when I get into fear, I can say, "Oh, hold it, wait a minute, let me breathe into this and see what conscious thing, what intentional thing, what awareness I can be open to that allows me to get through whatever this is." So meditation is very important. Then the second thing is that affirmative prayer, because then I can actually go into what I want to experience here is peace. And in the mode of affirmative prayer, I can go into knowing that peace is everywhere present. And because it's everywhere present, it's right here where I am. And so I can use that wonderful gift we have of imagination, and I can imagine peace. And in the imagination of peace, I can also imagine the feeling of peace. And as I imagine the feeling of peace and I get it into my body, then I'm also inviting the attraction of peaceful experiences into my awareness and into my world and into my life through that law of attraction. So I use affirmative prayer, which is the second practice that we do. The third practice is study. And so we can take each day to take a little bit of time to remind ourselves of the truth. And there are a million books out there that have daily affirmations or daily prayers or daily inspiration. I read the Science of Mind daily guides every day. And the way that I know that I'm going to do that is that I put it in the bathroom. Because I know that I am going to hit the bathroom first thing in the morning. And it's all God. So I can read my daily guide in the bathroom. And that, I start my day with that. And I also have the Book of Awakening, which I read. I also have a little book of positive quotations that I read, because I am inspiring myself through the wisdom and inspiration of others. So I'm taking that in, reminding myself of the truth. So that's what study is all about. And then, of course, service is the next practice. Because as we move into serving others, we have that ability to express love. We're giving in that divine flow. And as we give, we receive. The wonderful poet Tagore said, I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and found that life was service. I served and found that service was joy. So this is an opportunity for us to be in community in a deeper way, to step up to serve life. Because when we're serving others, that's what we're doing. We're serving life. And we could not exist without people in service in this community. We rely upon people in service to support us. Because it also connects us. And when we work together and play together, we deepen in community. We get to know each other better. And it's a wonderful opportunity to deepen in community. And I'm sure that Gabriella could tell you wonderful stories about connecting with the folks at the Interfaith Food Ministry and her service there. So it's and I know that Dina and Vicki are very involved with Sammy's Friends, and so they have another community there where they're in service. And I know that probably all of you have different places where you serve, and how that opens your heart and allows you to be that inlet and outlet for the Spirit of God. And the last thing is tithing. And tithing is just a spiritual practice. It's not something that, we say you have to tithe. No, tithing is a spiritual practice, just like meditation or study or service. It's saying, I know that God is my source. And so I am going to give to the source of my spiritual food. Where am I nourished spiritually? And it's just a practice of giving to that which nourishes us spiritually. That's all tithing is. And so these practices allow us to be in alignment with the flow. Because there is a flow. It's an inlet, it's an outlet, and it is ideas. That is Spirit's coin, is ideas. George Washington Carver, who invented peanut butter and traffic lights, he said, I love to think of nature as an unlimited broadcasting station through which God speaks to us every hour if we will only tune in. God is an unlimited broadcasting station if we will only tune in. He also said, very wise man, anything will give up its secrets if you love it enough. He said the peanut gave up its secrets because he loved it enough. So the thing about this is for us right now. I would just invite you to close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself, just breathing in. When my life is ideal, I am. When my life is ideal, I am. And it could be something like inspiring others with my love of writing. I am sharing my creativity through my art. I am feeding others with my fabulous cooking. When my life is ideal, I am. And if you're stuck, think of things that you don't want to have in your life and turn them around. For instance, you might come up with, when my life is ideal, I will never be around people who lie, cheat, or steal. You turn that around and you say, when my life is ideal, I am surrounded by people who are honest, have the highest integrity, and love to give. When my life is ideal, I'm surrounded by people who are honest, have the highest integrity, and love to give. Now I invite you to think of a few people in your life that you know who are not passionate about what they are doing in their lives. Think about a couple of people who are not passionate about what they're doing in their lives. What do they talk about? Where is their attention focused? How do they treat the people they spend time with? Sort of make a list in your mind of the behaviors of these people. And ask yourself if you see any of these behaviors in yourself. Are they being judgmental? Are they complaining? Have you caught yourself being judgmental? Complaining? Can you see how any of these behaviors might sabotage your own ability to live an abundant life, a passionate life, a fulfilled life? Now I invite you to think of 2 things that you could do this week to start changing these behaviors so that you can align with that first statement, when my life is ideal, I am. What is something you could change to align with that? So that you can live the abundant, purposeful, passionate life you deserve. God gives us the ideas. It is up to us to take the action on them. So let's return to the room. And just know that we are that inlet and the outlet for the divine. That it is moving through us, it is expressing through us, and we're just going to allow it. Not an efforting, not a forcing, but a stepping into the flow. And I also let you know that I would give you the theme for our coming year in my letter that I sent you. And so the theme for the coming year, that's based on all of the wonderful visionings that we did with the board and the practitioner, the vision for our coming year is deepening in loving community. Deepening in loving community. And so it is.
And so it is.